Hey there, thanks for stopping by. And if you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm Robbie Greer from Rusticated-Art, and this week's video is all about the continuation of last week's, which was about the commission that I'm doing for a lovely couple, Hemi and Nicole. And this is part 2, so what part 2 is about is finishing off the graphite drawing. So last week we had the underdrawing and the pencil drawing, and now we've just put a bit more detail into it. And also we get most of the inking done. So stick around to the end, because along the way I'll give you lots of hints and plenty of tips on how I go about doing my drawings. And I love sharing them with you. So what do you reckon? Come on then. Okay, now in the second stage, what I'm doing here is I'm just going in now and just putting in where the rust. Now the rust it's not always like rusted right through, it's just rusty where the paints come off, you know, because it's a real hard metal. It's not like they make them these days. It's so yeah, there would be some holes in it, but most of it's just the brown rust from the oxidization of the metal, and not actually gone right through. I'm using my blending stump. There's a lot of graphite on that, so I just use that just to put down the different tones in that, in the windscreen. Now that's the line going right through the centre there. And what I've done, I've just gone along and I've taken a bit out with the Tombow, and that just will make it look a bit more defined. I'm using this 6B to do the darkness, the darks under the tyre wells. Just putting in the nuts and bolts. Putting a bit more of the oxidization in. Now I'm putting in probably a bit more detail, because even though I am inking it, the whole idea is I put as much as I can in with graphite, because otherwise what will happen, I'll start wandering off. So I want to make it as defined as possible using the graphite, so when it comes to inking I won't have any excuses and stay on track, hopefully. Putting in the foliage, or going over it, and actually putting in the darkness of the back of the cab there. I mean, most of it's pretty self-explanatory. Yet now I noticed, which I didn't see in the original photo, there was a steering wheel in there. Couldn't see it to start with. Just putting in the main stays of the windmill. Just putting down a little bit of the detail on that main strainer post there. It's got, I don't know if it's called hurricane netting here, but back home in New Zealand it's hurricane. Well, that's what's up there. So I'm just putting in the little wires that go around the post, the strainer. There's a little cap on top of the post, so I'm just putting that in. I'm using a micro brush, which is probably, well, it's probably not going to be needed because I'm going to be inking it all, but it's just habit, I guess. There's a little vine going there. I don't know if it's a grapevine or whatever, but I'm just putting that in. More detail on the post. Just putting in a few of the trees and that there, the trunks, and put in a few branches. Really it's just a guide, so I know when I go in to ink it. A little platform there at the top of the windmill. I'm finding that lycra glove actually is really good. There's a little cross brace down there, just bracing the windmill. Yeah, it's nice and smooth. It doesn't seem to smudge as much as putting down paper, so I'll probably end up using it, sticking with it. Windmills are tricky, like I said before, because they keep changing in other wind directions, and you can look at them straight on, then they're different. I'm putting down a bit of graphite there. I'm just scraping it on a graphite pencil, and then I'm using a tissue, paper towel, just to rub it in for the clouds. We don't really have clouds in the picture, but it's just that it looks better than just having a white area. And that's my Kohinoor 5.2 lead clutch pencil, and I use that just to cover areas a lot quicker. There's a little hurricane fence there as well. I'll probably lighten that up a bit. And getting a bit of grass, going over the grass because it's obviously been smudged. Getting it ready for inking. Yeah, with the windmills they tend to, they're like trees, you know, you look at them from one point and then you look at another point and then they've got a different perspective altogether. So you just got to capture it how it is, and sometimes they don't even look right at all, but that's how they are. Now with the foliage, this type of tree or this type of foliage, you'll find those sort of little wee, you know, the eucalyptus, just little wee round circles, and that's all I'm doing, just making little circles. They've got their own little clump. It's like their own little community that they sort of hang out with, and this, you know, in the wind they blow around and that, and therefore they get some bits are dark, some are light, because some are behind and some are in front. And generally what I do when I first start, putting in some branches there, is that I'll make the ink a little bit lighter. I don't push too hard, or I don't push hard anyway, but I just like to make it a bit lighter, because that way then I can come back in and put the darks in. So I'm barely sort of just touching, for the lights, I'd barely just touch the pen onto the paper, surface of the paper. You know, it's one of those things where it just takes practice. It's just little wee like scribbleisms, squiggleisms, well, scribbleisms I suppose. It's a bit darker down the bottom by the car. Going back up there, just putting a little bit more in. I mean, this looks like I'm going really fast, but you know, it's just one of those things again where you just got to take your time. Now I decided to do most of the underdrawing of the ink off camera, because it's just the same over and over again. I mean, what I've done was enough for you to be able to see how I go about doing it. So what I'm doing now is I'm going and doing the darks. And what I find the easiest way to do that is to squint your eyes. And what happens when you squint your eyes, it takes away the detail. So you can only see the darks and lights, and it just helps you where to put those darks. Gives you an idea. I mean, you can look at the reference photo and you can use that as well, but I just find squinting the eyes helps a lot. And because I'm going to be transferring this onto timber, There's areas that I want to be a little bit darker because you lose some of the detail in the transferring, and so it's probably going to be in places a little bit darker than what it would normally be. Although the trees and that are pretty much standard as far as the tonal value goes. Just going around the darks around the ute. The old FJ. Little quarter light window in there. Mirror, rear view mirror. Doing the steering wheel. Had a few Holdens over the years, but I never had an FJ. Had a couple of HQs. Old Kingswood, a couple of Commodores, to be honest I was more of a Holden fan than a Ford fan. Oh! Don't hold it against me. I sold cars for many years, and I always remember every time we had a Commodore on the lot, it was virtually sold straight away. A Ford would sit there for ages. Sorry all you Ford lovers, but that's just how it was. Just putting in a bit more of the rust or the oxidization marks. That's why I see how I was saying when I did it, the pencil I made pretty detailed because I didn't want to, when I started inking it, I didn't want to start sidetracking, which I quite often do. So I thought I'd put as much pencil in as I could, graphite in as I could, to try and stop me from doing that. It seems to be working in this instance. Thank goodness. But they're a beautiful old wagon. You know, you see some of them that have been restored or just tidied up, kept tidy. Just all the curves on them, just magic. You're probably thinking, I've seen all this, and you'd be right. This is the inking process. Going over that crease that runs along the side there. Going in the wheel arches, making them darker. I'm using a bigger fine liner pen there, number 8, just to cover a bit more area, a bit quicker. Putting the wheel, the hubs in. There's not a lot of details to go in because they are quite a long way away. It's out of, sort of out of, not focal point, but out of, what would you call it? Not out of focus either, but they're distant away. So long as you can see, you know, the outline of things, that your eyes will know what it is. don't have to be too detailed. The windscreen. Well, I thought that'd just about do us for now. We've got most of the ink done. The next stage will be just to finish it all off and get it transferred. Oh, hey there. I was just having a bit of a strum while I was waiting for the footage to upload. Well, I'm glad you watched it till the end. Now, in this series, there's probably going to be another two videos, because I want to show you the entire process from the inception to the finish, and that's going to include the preparation for the wood that I'm going to be using to transfer the image onto. And because Nicole wanted it framed, I'll be framing that as well. So I want to show you the whole process. Now in part 3 we're going to be doing a bit of tidying up. We've got the sky to do, we've got the clouds to put in, we've got the grass, so we've got the foreground, and just generally tidying up the picture. We're getting it ready for the transfer. I've got to go and get it photocopied. I don't have an A3 printer here, so I've got to go and get it photocopied, laser printed and mirrored. Now if you'd like to learn how to draw, just go to my playlist. It's the Absolute Beginner's Guide to Drawing. I'll put it up here, or up here. Anyway, it'll be available. Check it out. I think you'll find it useful, even if you just want a refresher course. I'm constantly updating and editing that series anyway, the Beginner's Guide. So yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. And I'd love to have you on my artistic journey, because I know what art has done for me. And I feel truly blessed that somehow art found its way into my life. Now if you do decide to check out my playlist, for the Absolute Beginner's Guide, and you want to give it a go, the only thing I ask is that you give me a thumbs up, leave a comment and subscribe. Remember, it's free, and I'd love it if you share with your friends and family. Remember, it's a free course for my YouTube subscribers. And I get comments from families that actually sit and watch it on the TV and draw along. It's great entertainment. I've had my grandchildren doing it, and I've had family doing it, and they send me the thing, and they do. It's a lot of fun. Just make sure to designate who's in charge of the remote control. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.